Hello. Another stream. Another set of M games. Let's start by looking at Mortal Kombat 4. And I've got a little bit of trivia about this one coming up very shortly. Right. So this is Mortal Kombat 4. Technically the fourth arcade Mortal Kombat game really, because Mortal Kombat 3 was followed up by Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. And this is what, Midway thought fit to put out as the successor to that. A brand new fourth entry in the series where the game has gone 3D. This is version 1, the first version of Mortal Kombat 4 that was put out. It's, let's say, incomplete. I think that's the fairest thing you can really say about this one. Mortal Kombat 4 version 1, which is the one I'm running, is more or less an alpha of the game. There are hardly any fatalities implemented. I think there's just the one, in fact, from what I've been reading, and that was Sub-Zero's. Quite a few of the characters are missing. The roster doesn't even seem to be finalised in terms of the characters that are present. There's there's character implementations for a character that would eventually be dropped, and for some reason, Midway thought it fit to show the game in arcades in this state, and it really wasn't. And I don't think it was received amazingly well in this state, as you'd imagine, because people wanted a new Mortal Kombat game, a really good one, and they got a really half-complete 3D thing that doesn't compare to the older games too well. I mean, the emulation is not entirely complete here, so you can't judge it too harshly, because there's various lighting and shading effects missing, but you get the idea. You get the idea what the gameplay is going to be like. But just to give an indication of just how incomplete this version is, the bio screens weren't complete, and they're hidden away in the code. And if you've not seen the cutting room floor, this might be a treat, but there you go. Scorpion grew up on a farm. What is this? His best friend punched him in the neck. He vowed to find him and show him that it was not satisfactory behaviour. That's a very odd bio, but it's not the strangest of the bios. If we toggle the cheats a little bit more, we will get another one. Raiden, born the youngest of 14, Raiden did a lot of pointing and laughing at everyone else in his family, since he had superpowers and they didn't. That's Sonya. Sonya was never the first one picked at school when teams were being chosen for a game, and now she'll show them all. Damn it. Right, Liu Kang. Liu Kang is just a nice guy, a nice guy in general. He supports his local fire and police department and donates a large percentage of his income to local charities. Sounds exactly like Liu Kang. We'll show you Sub-Zero. Let's have a look at Sub-Zero's hidden bio. Come on, have I crashed it? I have possibly crashed the game. That's never good, is it? Yeah, that's what happens if you mess around with cheats. But we will get to Sub-Zero's bio just a moment. There we go. Right. Sub-Zero Zero made a pretty good book as a magician during his late 70s. During the late 70s, not his late 70s. He lost it all when the market crashed in 87, and he turned to the dark side. So yeah, even the placeholder bios aren't entirely well written, because that's Sub-Zero Zero. This one's got the wrong character name. The character was presumably called something different early on, but now it's Wingod. Wingod was always embarrassed because his mum made him wear his hair in a ponytail. Now he's got quite an attitude. And Chinook is next. Having been a former model for the bicycle playing card company, Chinook set out to change his public image to more of a badass. And then we've got Noob Saibot, who was not in the release version of the game, and he's just sort of got half of Raiden's bio in a bit of a messed up way. Like I say, he was actually removed from the later versions of the game, so the fact that there's any content of all there is kind of just shows you that the roster hadn't been finalised yet. But yeah, that gives you an idea of the state this game's in. So, what happens? About the I'm going to have to restart it. But here we go. Let's have a little play of the first version of Mortal Kombat then. You know, the best thing is I don't have to learn the fatalities because most of them are missing anyway. And I know I didn't do the best job of reading those out, but you know, I might give it another try at some point. So, yeah, see the question marks in the middle? That's because there's lots of missing characters. You can still pick a Scorpion. Novice or beginner? I'll go novice. And first match is a mirror match. Now, I don't particularly think first match being a mirror match is a great start, but apparently I have a sword now. And I don't know any of the moves, so you know, don't ask me to play this properly. I'm quite happy to chop people up with the sword. But yeah, there is a lot missing in this version. Well, there we go. I think the AI is even not very good in this version yet. It seems to be better in later versions. I don't know any of the moves. But unlike the other Mortal Kombat games, you can just do whatever you want. So I don't think there are any finishers for Scorpion. I think it's just Sub-Zero's that's implemented. So yeah, a lot of people ask about this one and when there are going to be emulation improvements to it and the other games on the Zeus type hardware. But I mean, I really don't know. Even to sort of record this, I was having to disable debug inputs in the driver because they clash with the control mapping I've got. So you know, it's not seen any attention for a long time. I mean, Mortal Kombat was one of the early digitized fighter ones, wasn't it? And people really liked that look and how serious it was and all the blood. And but yeah, it's not the best. Oh dear, I've been beaten. Would have helped if it actually researched any of the moves in this. I can't remember how I got the sword out. Oh, well, I can just uppercut people. There we go. Have some uppercuts, Raiden. Oh, you do your teleporting thingy. I do like the wall, the background wall on this. It reminds me of the Nightmare TV show with the talking walls that would give you puzzles. But obviously, in this case, it's just a gaping wall. Who might be enjoying this fight, might not be. But yeah, hey Carlo. How you doing? I won't be looking at all the Mortal Kombat games today, but I did want to just show off those quite silly bios, you know, because they're hidden away, and if you haven't looked at the cutting room floor, you probably don't know about them. But you know, there are Mortal Kombat fan sites that will detail all the things that change between the revisions. The cutting room floor details hidden assets and things like that. Yeah, if I knew how to do any of the fatalities or any of the moves, I might have a look at that, but I really am not a good player of Mortal Kombat. I mean, I could open up and have a little look. But yeah, why don't I actually do that? Let me just pause momentarily and bring up a browser and have a look and see if I can find any Mortal Kombat moves. Keeping in mind that this move list might not be for version 1. Let's see, what can Scorpion do, if anything? Forward, high kick was broadsword, which is apparently the one I did. Spear is back, low punch. Okay. Right. I don't know. I should probably actually map the keys to something appropriate, shouldn't I? So low kick, low punch. run, high kick, high punch, block. I don't know. That's better than nothing. Oh, I can do that now, you see. I'm not a good Mortal Kombat player in general. I mean, it's never been my game. I had it on the Amiga. I think I had Mortal Kombat 2 on the Amiga, but the main thing I remember about the game is not the game. It's just how much disc swapping there was to do in it. And when that's the main memory you have of a game, it's not ideal, is it? Now, there aren't. I can't do any finishing moves in this version of Mortal Kombat because, like I said, I think there's only the Scorpion one implemented. Oh, look, we've got a graphical glitch. That might be the revision, that might be the emulation, I really don't know. Oh, well, score. Right. Let me have a look. Oh, down, back, high punch, just teleport. Oh, look, I can continue. Okay, this was version 1 anyway. I'm going to skip over version 2. Because it's, you know, it's not the most interesting revisions. But let's go straight to version 3 of this game. Now, version 3 is basically the final version. Over version 2, they added more finishing moves, more content, and, you know, refined things, fixed loads of bugs. So, yeah, version 3 is the actual finished game. But it's the situation was so bad with the release that it's one of those games where they actually had to tell the player that it was a new version. If you wait till the title screen appears, you will see it says revision 3 on the title screen, and I guess that's because they knew so many players had tried to play it when it was in previous revisions, like the really buggy incomplete version 1 I was just playing then version 2 still wasn't really complete. And when you're having to tell your player, give the game another chance, you know, it's a new version of the game, that's not a good sign. There aren't many games that show that on the title screen. I think Capcom's X-Men Children of the Atom does the same, but it's not common to see an actual revision number on the screen. It's usually a bad sign. But yeah, the version 1 didn't have the intro subtitled there, and nor any of the win quotes as far as I know. So that's been added in the newer versions. You know, you've got your Midway logo, 1997. But this is what I mean. It actually shows revision 3 on the screen. Makes a point of showing it, just so you know it's not the old buggy version of the game. And you've got this screen now that I think was missing on the previous one because it didn't have these options. And you've got your 3 characters in the middle who were entirely missing in the previous version of the game. And if I'd left it in track mode, you would have also had the bios. Anyway, Johnny Cage. Hold on, let me scroll down to my move lists. This, by the way, is not the worst Mortal Kombat game I will be looking at. I have a nice special one in store for you in a bit. Right. Okay, so don't do that. I'm trying to work out my moves. 4. Is that it? That didn't look like a long sword. Oh, well, I'm using the wrong button. That's why I'm doing the wrong move. Well. Oh, I can't pick it. Because I've used the sword, I can't pick it up again, can I? You don't get infinite swords. I don't think I can use it now. Anyway. I don't know. I can't get any of these moves to work. I still win. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't have the appeal of the older Mortal Kombat games to me, and I didn't find them that appealing in the first place. And I guess it's probably why the Mortal Kombat series in the arcade really just ended here, and until the sort of recent versions that become popular again, it sort of fell out of favour with people. Right. We've got to do back, down, back. There we go. Hey, Christopher. Things are good here. How about there? Yes. I don't really want to do Mac 3 because it's a Laserdisc one, and you tend to get not even just content claims on YouTube. You tend to get actual copyright strikes for the ones with the actual FMV like that. So I'm going to avoid those. It's like the music games. They're just asking for trouble trying to stream them, unfortunately. Because you just get, like, it just counts as you trying to upload a copy of the Laserdisc. And that doesn't go down well with YouTube. Oh, Raiden wins. Anyway. Yeah, Mortal Kombat is really quite playable. Mortal Kombat 4 in MAME. It's not saying the animation is not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was many years ago. I mean, all the transparency effects on the things used to be a complete mess, and now they look actually quite nice. The lighting, transparencies, weapons, health bars are all working. Yeah, I think we'll see some more Laserdisc progress in a couple of years. There's all the Doomsday Project stuff going on, so once the standards are actually finalised, we'll probably get that, get a lot more emulated. That's not. But there are some really pretty looking stages on this if I can get to them. There's the one with all the little drone things flying around. There's lights, which I think is a really good effect. But you actually have to be able to play the game and get there, which I might fail to do. Maybe I'd be better off just looking at the track mode. Yeah, again. Pardon me. Dear. I seem to be doing worse since I redefined the keys. This is my high punch. I think maybe. Oh dear. See, I think the AI did become more aggressive in the final this final version compared to the version 1. I would have liked to have seen a finish move at some point. But, let's continue again. Should it actually be Raiden? Hold on, let me scroll to Raiden's move list. Not that I can really do moves and read and play the game and read the chat, because I'm really bad at multitasking like that. So forward, back, high punch. Yeah, okay, that's standard. That doesn't work. Why are my moves not working? I played Mushi-sama another week, well, another stream. I might revisit it. I can't get any of these moves to work. Okay, I am really bad at Mortal Kombat 4. I worked that much out. What am I doing wrong here? Yeah. I can do that, and this didn't really help my cause, did it? So this is low punch. So, oh, it works for me now, you see. I must have just been doing it wrong before. Let's spam this and, yeah, there we go. I don't like mirror matches either, I always forget which one I am. This is sort of magic missile mode, isn't it? Let's have a war of magic missiles. Why have they all got weapons in this version too? What's that all about? I mean, let's spam this. It's not Rise of the Robots, but I'm sure I can spam. Oh, what's finish moves? Down forward, back block. Oh, there. Doesn't matter. Anyway, how long have we been playing Mortal Kombat? Probably too long. I should probably move on shortly, but you get the idea. It's Mortal Kombat 4. Yeah, that is Mortal Kombat 4. Now, if I was any good at that game, you might have seen some more interesting content, but I just wanted to show off the silly profiles at the start, really. Right, let's get rid of that display and go with this display, because what I'm going to run next does not use a monitor. Oh, maybe that's too much of a clue. Still Mortal Kombat, though. Where is it on my list? Where is it on my list? Down here. Oh, you are in for a treat. Right, sorry. Yeah, let's restart. Right. So, Tiger Gamecom. You know, this is known as such a fantastic system. It does run in MAME, and it had a cartridge with Mortal Kombat Trilogy on. Yep, Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the Gamecom. Possibly one of the worst Mortal Kombat games ever. But I guess you expected that, didn't you? I mean, there are some really bad ports of Mortal Kombat to the other handhelds, but this one seems exceptionally bad to me. We've even got Raiden spelt with the Y. Shall we pick him? He's got some speech. Doesn't seem to be any music, but I guess there just isn't. But here we go. Look at how this moves. Isn't it great? Don't you wish you owned a Gamecom and could play this? This fantastic version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy. You know, yes. I mean, maybe the Tiger handheld version is worse than the Tiger Gamecom version, but it's debatable. This just moves so badly. It feels like almost like you're playing a... Yeah, it really feels like a pirate fighter or something. It just dire. And again, somebody thought this was suitable to release. You know, and it's got enough buttons. You've got, unlike some of the home ports, you've actually got 4 buttons here to use to play it with. You're not stuck with 2 buttons like, say, a Master System. But honestly, I'd rather play the Master System version of Mortal Kombat. This is near enough unplayable, at least to me. Block. Yep, yeah, Metal Hawk does make good use of zooming hardware, doesn't it? That's a very nice looking game. Shall we continue playing this? Oh, shall we... I don't know. Let's play as Rain. Yeah, Edson. Don't you just love this version of Mortal Kombat especially? I mean, I bet you wish you were sat here playing it now instead of me. What just happened? I think the emulation broke, but I don't really care. That's impressive. I don't know if this is just the game or just MAME's type Gamecom emulation, but we seem to have lost some colour. And it's not affecting things in the slightest. This is the thing with this game. It seems to be running with a good frame rate and then a bad frame rate. I really don't know what's happened to the colours though. Yeah. Is it going to fix itself, or have I completely broken the game? It didn't do this when I was testing it earlier, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I might have to reset this if it's permanently broken it. Let me just try and beat this character and see if it fixes itself, or if it's now permanently in this state. No, I think it's permanently in this state. I have to reset. I really don't know what happened there. So we get to see the beautiful tiger logo again. Even the boot sequence is painfully slow, isn't it? Oh dear. So yeah, apparently I broke Mortal Kombat. Well, I broke the Gamecom emulation, but there you go. I've not used much of the Gamecom emulation because who would really want to? Well, anyway, we don't need the mouse cursor anymore. Let's play as Katana and see if I can break it again. Choose your fight. Everybody looks like Reptile with this amount of green or yellow, or I don't know. But yeah, this is bad. This is really bad. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, they wanted to cash in on Mortal Kombat, and they did the same on the Gamecom with other things like Juuryoku. But is it really worth it? I mean, this must have done. This can't have done any good for the reputation of the franchise, can it? People buy this, play this, go. This is what Mortal Kombat is? No. I won. I think there are special moves. I just don't know how to do them. Although maybe there aren't, because they don't seem to be doing any to me either. I'm just hammering keys and nothing's happening. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, this car crash. It's a mess. Let's just beat up Reptile this time. I can't do any special moves. Maybe there aren't any. Oh no, I think that was a special move, not done by me. But yeah, there must be some then. I just don't know how to do them. Apparently, Reptile won. I can't take much more of this. I'm going to have to turn this off very shortly. Yeah, bye. I can't play that game anymore. That game is too bad. I have not seen another world remake for the C64 actually. I don't follow the C64 that much aside from watching some channels on Twitch, so it's not one I've seen. So I might have to ask about that actually when I next go and watch some C64. Right, let's go from a badgame.com game to, you know, a fairly well-loved arcade game. Unless you're BBH, who apparently hates this game with a passion. This is Namco's Mappy. You know, the famous sort of rob the building game before Bonanza Brothers, because I guess that is what you're doing here. You are stealing all the items, really, aren't you? I mean, even though you're sort of a police mouse, you're going around pinching all the items? I don't know. I don't really know what the backstory of Mappy is, but to me it just looks like I'm stealing everything. And yes, if you get the items in the flashing order, you get more bonus points, and I'm not doing that. I do like this. The simplicity of the gameplay for this one does it for me. Yep. There you go. Got you. Hit save. And there we go. That's the first level of Mappy done. I didn't even lose a life. Is that the first game on the stream where I've completed a level without losing a life? Yeah, and the levels do get a bit more complex. Like, I can't jump all the way up there because there's a platform in the way. So, as you'd expect. And it's quite kind in terms of the collisions at times, because then I thought I was probably dead. And you can't go through this door this way because it's at the top like that, and you can't open doors when you're bouncing on trampolines, can you? I mean, it's just common sense. Now, as you see, the platforms, when you bounce, the trampolines do change colour, and if they turn red and you bounce on them again, they disappear, so you do have to keep moving. And that is one detail a lot of the plug-and-play units that have hacked up Mappy versions got wrong, because they've redone the graphics, but they forgot to do the colour changing on the trampolines, on those plug and plays, and as a result, you don't really know when they're going to break unless you count it, which is a terrible oversight. But there you go, a little bonus stage. And yeah, that's the other thing they plug and play things get wrong. This is meant to be finish the stage before the music ends, but since they've replaced all the music on those, it's not in time at all. There we go. Oh, run out of time. Yeah, I do like this one. It's obviously a game most people know. If you walk straight into enemies, you know, you're going to lose lives like that. Just because I know the game and enjoy it does not make me any better at it, which is a common theme you're finding with most of these streams, I'm sure. Uh-oh. No, I'm okay. I'm not okay. Oh, I could have gone in the roof there, you see. But that's not good. I got trapped in the roof. That's a nice little effect though, because you know, you're hiding behind the roof graphic and it does the priority effect, so you're clearly in the roof. Nice touch, that. That's the same thing I did on my first life. I don't know why I'm repeating the same mistakes there. Mappy. There's not really much to say about Mappy though, is there? It's one of those games that got ported all over the place. It is on the Namco Nostalgia plug and play unit, and I think I looked at that before. I'm not going to look at that today though. Now Baz, apparently. The plug and play version's also got a sort of breakout game on it too, which uses the Mappy characters. It's on a lot of the Japanese computers. Maybe more on the Japanese computers than the UK computers, really. Hey, Mr. Drome, how you doing? Anyway, I'm not going to stick too long on Mappy. I just wanted something quick to get away from the horrors that were the Gamecom Mortal Kombat Trilogy, because that was bad. Anyway, where are we going now? I think I'm going to go with the one. I mean, Metal Hawk was mentioned, wasn't it? I have this horrible feeling that Metal Hawk has got very tricky to map controls. Analog stick X, Y, and Y2. See, this is going to be tricky to play, I feel. Left, right, up, down. Let's give it a try though, because yeah, as mentioned in the chat, this does have some very nice zooming rotation effects. This also got some emulation improvements recently. So what are my controls? Okay, that's higher, lower, forward, backward. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. I think I can manage this. Oh, down here. Yeah, I'm playing on keyboard, so at the moment I've sort of configured two... oh, where am I going? I've got to follow the arrow. I've configured the controls next to my fire buttons as up and down. So... yeah, I mean, this is one of those standout games for System 2. I think in terms of the games that push the rotation effect, I do prefer Assault. But that's just a personal preference in terms of, you know, I like the tank gameplay more so than this. But you've got to say you've got full height control, although crashing straight into other aircraft is going to end badly. Flickers the clouds so that, you know, they appear slightly transparent. bomb these. What else am I doing? There we go. So yeah. But yeah, for some reason this is actually missing on my list. I guess there were probably one or two where I've gone over the list and just forgotten about them. But, down, yes, too high. Next target is here. That popped into view a bit suddenly. Is that a bug? What's going on there? I don't know what's going on there. I thought that looks wrong to me. I thought this had been improved recently, but that looks... Yeah, that carrier's not meant to be wrapping like that. I'm not sure about that one. I'm sure that's what the bug fix was meant to have fixed, but... I think it might have been. Yeah, I'm going to have a ping Cam about that. I don't know what's going on with that ship there. Because he was meant to have fixed that bug, I think. So I'll have to see when this has started doing that. And have a look at the bug fix, if it's an easy bug fix or not. But I know there was... It just surprises me because I know there was a fix that went in that was meant to address something that's very similar to that, to do with the zoom wrapping. But maybe it's a case of one thing was fixed and another thing broke. That happens sometimes. So I might quit out of this one and revisit it in the future, because at the moment I think this is broken. I don't know why, I wasn't expecting it to be broken, but at the moment I would say that's actually a broken game right now, unfortunately. It's what happens from time to time. Shall I stick with Namco though? I mean, this will be the third Namco in a row, but there are a lot of good Namco games. This is also on Mappy hardware, so twice on Mappy hardware. This is Motos, which got a really good port on the Amstrad CPC actually, but is a Namco game that, compared to say Mappy, very few people talk about or even know. But I really like it. It's nice and simple. It's a case of, you know, push things off the edge. I mean, what's not to like about a simple game? But the entire objective is just to bash things off the board. And not get bashed off yourself, of course. I mean, if you get bashed off yourself, that's bad, so you do have to manage your position and your direction. And some things are harder to push off than others, like that red one is trickier. Don't have to push those off. And you can use other things on the playfield to your advantage, you know, position yourself between two things to stop you make sure you don't get pushed off. There is strategy to it. And don't drive off like that, because that's just very silly. And yeah, also pick up the power-ups, because they help. But, yeah, a lot of people just don't seem to have played this one, which for a Namco game released around this period surprises me. So you can choose how many power parts you want to allocate and things like that. And that improves your ability to knock things about, and it's quite actually an in-depth game, and there's more strategy than you'd think to it. See, I can use a PowerPoint or I can just go normal. I'll choose normal. Do I want some jump parts? Yeah, they might help. That means I can jump, no. So, don't do that. That's falling off the edge, that's bad. I've collected some more. I still want a jump part because I need to be able to jump. No, I didn't need to waste the jump part because I've already got the stuff in the middle. Never mind, collect another power part while I can. But yeah, there were thing with the Namco System 2 that we're just talking about, yeah, there were quite a lot of variations on the board. I mean, even the 3D hardware, the later ones, they were sort of based around the same type of board. Not exactly the same boards, but you know, the same designs, just expanded further with different extra hardware. Hey Ogre, how you doing? And yeah, I think Motos is really underrated. Not overrated, I'm saying the wrong thing there. Like I say, got a really good port on the CPC that nobody talks about either. Yeah. Maybe it just wasn't what people wanted at the time. Or maybe they just didn't understand the strategy behind it, because it can be quite tricky to understand, like positioning yourself between things so that you don't fall off the edge yourself. Luring things towards the edge so that you can push them off. It just reminds me of sort of the games you had with kids, with the spinning tops and things like that, where you're trying to knock other things out the arena. I guess they're sort of Beyblade things these days. But that's sort of the appeal to me. That's why I liked it. Power up. Go off the edge. Go on. Also, I like the colour changing background here, with the the squares that change in colour. Reminds me a bit of watching Big Clive streams with this colour changing supercomputer thing in the background. So, I say that this stage does not change colours much. Oh, get off that. Oh, not me. You. Yeah. It is. It does feel a bit ahead of its time. I mean, Namco were good at doing that. Good at making games that were ahead of their time. So, to me, they've never had quite the same appeal as Sega, just because Sega had all those, the sprite scalers, which blew me away. Oh dear, I'm back to level 1. Oh dear. That wasn't clever. But, in terms of, creative original ideas that they actually released, Namco were up there. Atari had lots of creative and original ideas that didn't get released, but then lots of creative and original ones that did too. I mean, I don't think anybody else would have produced Paperboy, but I think that's the thing. Every manufacturer had character, and that's what you appreciate about them. Namco could come up with these simple game formulas and produce a really good game out of them, which got progressively more difficult throughout the stages, adding elements all the time. Just always based around a very simple concept. Atari could, say, adapt real-life situations to games. Paperboy, APB. Even Pit Fighter as a fighter is still more based around reality than other fighters. This is using the HLSL effects. It's the CRT Geom shader, well, the deluxe one, that was improved a bit in 229. But yeah, it does give a very nice, almost CRT look to it, which is what it's meant to do. So, I'd say it successfully does that. Unlike, say, the Vector one that I was playing with earlier, that I really can't get to look anything like a Vector monitor. Which is also a clue to, what might be coming later. But I do have a Vector game or two penciled in. Oh, I should have gone for more power. But yeah, in the previous video somebody asked the same question about the filter actually, and I just mentioned that in the reply there. So I've not changed any of the settings from the default. It is just the default settings, pardon me, for this filter, which does sometimes leave a little bit on the screen, which maybe should fade away. But overall, it's the defaults are very good for it, I would say. Yeah, Motos, good fun Namco game, released around the same time as Mappy, on the same hardware as Mappy. And one, if you've not played, I would highly recommend playing. No. Well, sort of. I mean, let's go with the Vector one, shall we? The Vector one is a bit flickery, which again might be a case of slightly off emulation. But here we go. It's also vertical. The Vectrex. You can do a lot of things, but it still never looks quite right. But this is Mindstorm 2 for the Vectrex, which is apparently just a bug fixed version of the game that was built into the system. But you know, it was released separately to people who complained about the bug or something like that. What's my... Oh, there we go. Default keys are a little bit odd. So it's kind of asteroids, isn't it? Just asteroids with asteroids that aren't asteroid shaped and don't split into smaller pieces in the same way as asteroids. But, yeah, I might have the glow turned up a little too brightly, but you know, I wanted it to glow. But, you know, you can't get things like the tiny bullets being super bright too easily, and I tend to find out the colours get washed out too easily too on the colour ones. I don't know the exact reasons. But, the arcade games don't flicker as much as this. I think it might be a slight issue with the Vectrex emulation. But then again, real vector monitors do flicker quite a lot. Having played one or two of them, it surprised me. I mean, I played Star Wars and I thought the monitor was about to explode when the Death Star exploded. It, you know, it was flickering a lot and not a very stable display at that point. It's made it even more impressive, actually. But you know, don't really want to maybe feel like the monitor's going to explode on you. But the Death Star certainly looked like it was exploding. But yeah, the Vectrex is a fantastic little machine, by the way. You know, the only home vector system. Most of the games do require overlays that aren't especially good in MAME at the moment because nobody's done high quality ones. But games like this, where it's a simple shooter, you can of course play it quite easily. I say easily, that depends how good you are at the game too. Also, you know, space is accelerate and shift is fire in the current default setup, which is slightly awkward, but I can't be bothered to change it. No. Also, there is a hyperspace key for those emergency situations. But yeah, if you've not checked out a Vectrex, I do recommend having a look at the library. There's some really good ports. The Scramble port is really good for a vector game too. There are other vector games. This was not my only option. You may see another one later, depending on, you know, how far we get with games. But POG. I'm not aware of one called POG. Well, is this an arcade game you're thinking of? I think there was a game called Pod on the Spectrum, which was sort of a grid runner type shooter. But I don't know. It's not one I'm familiar with off the top of my head, at least. Poggers. If there is, I'm not aware of it. But you know, I don't know everything. It could be one of those that I've just never tried myself, but it's not ringing any bells. Yay, big explosion. Ooh, pretty star effect. And level 2. But yeah, I do like this. This is a very simple vertical asteroids game too, because the Vectrex was a vertical monitor. Yeah, so this will probably be my last little go on this one. But like I say, I can't get the vector one, really, vector settings to be satisfactory to me. But maybe the shader's just not quite as mature as the ones for the CRT screens. Or maybe it's just really just not possible to get that vector look you want on a regular monitor. Got those nice 80s arcadey sounds too to this. Very satisfying. Crunchy and bleepy. Oh, and I got. Yeah, Proof of Destruction, that was the one I was thinking of, but that's not POG, is it? But I do like a bit of that pod on the Mastertronic one. That's a fun little game. Obviously not one to stream today, but one I might look at in the future if I do some random computer games. Oh, hey Manshovel. I'm good. How about you? I saw you having a bit of a chat in Zypho's Discord earlier about the Master System and your love for that. So yeah, I'm going to look at a Master System game shortly, actually. So yeah, in fact, there we go. That's good. That was Mindstorm 2 on the Vectrex, and you know, good bit of fun vector game that. And since Manshovel has joined, I am going to jump forward with the Master System game I was going to play in a bit. And the game is Megumi Rescue, which I think was only released in Japan. It's one of the ones that uses a paddle controller. It seems quite quiet, so I'm going to turn it up. But this is also one where we know there's an undumped arcade version, because we saw it for sale once but didn't manage to get it. The arcade version runs on the System E board and is a vertical game, so I'm going to guess on the arcade version you would have the whole playfield in view at the same time. And also because the System E is a double up Master System with twice as many VDPs, it probably look a bit better, although it wouldn't have the FM sound. But this game is very similar to the Firefighter game on a lot of those plug and play units. You're just rescuing people from the burning buildings. But I do like this simple sort of breakout style gameplay. And this one's using a paddle, so you know you've got precise controls. You can move very quickly or very slowly and miss the person you're meant to be rescuing, or you know, your little firefighting nursey. Almost looks like wearing a mushroom hat, but yeah, that makes sense then. Is it a bit of a quiet one then? You just got lots of time to burn and not much else to do. But, did you have this game on the Master System? I guess being a Japanese game, it's probably a bit more obscure than even a European one. Also, yeah, I think it needs the paddle controller. I don't know if it can be played on joystick or joypad rather. But, let's try and actually do a bit better this time. But I do wonder if those other Firefighter games were inspired by this, or if it's just an obvious idea. You do have a bit more strategy here. You press the button to hold on to the window, so you know you are meant to be. There we go. Got you. So you have to press the button to actually rescue people. Helicopter. Got the cat. Always rescue the cats. You know, the cats are probably just as important. Although the cats probably also started the fire. You know, misbehaving cats is always a problem. Yeah, it is. This is what I was saying with the Magic Monkey thing, with the Nintendo one I was looking at the other day. It's always nice to see Breakout, but with a twist. And that's what these do. Oh, I don't want to rescue the fire. I do want to rescue the fire. I don't know the ins and outs of this game fully. Oh, well, the building turned into a waterfall. which is better than the plug-and-play games, where sometimes you get a power up and it nukes the building. I'm wondering, how did that save or help anybody? It's difficult to know with some of the Naomi carts because quite a few of them are just the same as the ROM versions, but copied, CD versions copied into ROM. Some of them the same as the release versions. I think some of the things being sold as prototypes probably aren't either. They're conversions that just look like prototypes, so you have to be careful. I can't give any specific advice on it. If it's ridiculously expensive, my personal feeling would be that it's probably not going to be that interesting anyway. Most of those that we've found haven't been. Oh, somebody died. That was a bit dramatic. Sorry, I don't actually know what you do, but construction season, eh? Is that it's not being affected by the whole COVID thing then? I think construction, everything has still been going on here throughout, apart from the odd break, because there's a building site not far down here. They're building houses all across what were once green fields, and it seems to have kept going throughout most of this. There you go. This game really looks bright and colourful too. It's one of those that if you had this on the NES, it wouldn't look anywhere near as bright and colourful and vibrant as this Master System version here. That's why I'd really like to see the arcade of this turn up one day, and not miss out on buying it like last time. But it's probably one of those where it does show up. It's going to be ridiculously expensive because everything is now. Even seeing it with some of the plug and plays, people are just asking prices that nobody's going to pay, and then everybody's copying that. So thankfully, most of those we've got them now. Oh, got yeah. All right, that's better then. I was trying to watch a US stream last night, and the time difference, yeah, it's a bit extreme. I think they were I fell asleep and the stream was still going on about 6 o'clock in the morning when I sort of woke up and turned it off, and it's a shame because there are so many good things that I miss out on this region unless I'm watching on catch up, and I guess people in the US miss out on due to the time zones. The daylight saving thing is something I've had to keep in mind because I'll be doing a little interview for somebody else in the US shortly. I might talk about that more another day, but I had to work out exactly which time zone we're going to be in at which times for a couple of weeks from now, and had to remember whose clocks were changing when, and ours weren't changing until the end of March. Yours are changing on Sunday. All good fun. Yeah, this is Megumi Rescue anyway, and I am not the best at it, like most of these games. But it's a good fun one, and I'm assuming the arcade will also support a spinner. System E had other vertical games with spinner controls, with the Pythagoras being the one that comes to mind. So I'm going to guess it will follow a similar formula if it shows up. Right, I think I should probably go back to an arcade game now though, shouldn't I? Another M arcade game that I've not played yet. And I'm going to cheat because this one is called Monster Maulers in the US and everywhere else. In Japan it wasn't, but I'm going to play the Japanese version because the Japanese version is better. I'm allowing myself to bend the rules slightly here. But since this would be known to most people as Monster Maulers, I don't think it's bending the rules too much, is it? I just don't want to play the censored, cut down export release. I'd rather play Dadandarn, yeah, however you pronounce it, which is for use only in Japan. So yes, this is Japan. This is what Japan looks like. All Japanese. I'm in Japan. That's my Japanese cat. No, it's not a Japanese cat. What are you doing? I think he must have left the door open because he's come to visit. Anyway, this is a very long Japanese warning sign. Yes, I'm in Japan. Do I have to sort of confirm I'm in Japan? Like, confirm I'm not a robot? There we go. Okay. Here we have the introduction. All the music. But this is quite like Red Earth and Warzard, or Red Earth Warzard, and that type of game where you're fighting a bigger enemy than you are. Yeah, I've lost track of when daylight and when isn't daylight at the moment. But yeah, I think that's one of the things with the Japanese version of this. It's got this theme tune. I think that's removed or censored in the non-Japanese version. It'd be nice if everybody just didn't move the clocks or move the clocks at the same time, personally. I find it very confusing. It usually upsets my body clock if I've actually got things to do. So, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of daylight saving, but I understand why people do it, why it gets done. I guess there's a psychological element to it too. People, like you say, want some daylight at 8 o'clock. Anyway, here you get to fight a nice big rotating game. But this is using the Konami hardware to do all the rotation effects and everything else. So, you know, like we were looking at Namco earlier and Metal Bolt rotating. Here we've got Konami rotating backgrounds, and we've got the vocals on the soundtrack, which I'd say I think is what is in this version. It's not in the American version or European version. Yeah, compromise, half an hour and that's it. And luckily, when most of the work I do isn't time dependent, so it doesn't matter too much. But if I'm making appointments to do, you know, interviews with people and record this stuff, I do have to keep in mind the time. Data is fighting game on Bad Dudes hardware. Which one are we talking about? I'm thinking Hippodrome, but is that on Data East? Is that on Bad Dudes hardware? Yeah, Hippodrome. No, oh yeah, that was on one of those early fighters. No, not as impressive as this, I'd say. I've never been a huge fan of Hippodrome. You can tell it's an earlier fight, whereas this isn't an early fight, this is just doing this style of gameplay. Really good actor. I do like them. You see the different evolutions of a bigger monster, and the one that you can't play. I mean, you see it. You do see similar in other genres too. The strangest one for me that's this style of game probably the Change Airblade, which is a shooter where the entire game is a game with boss fights, but it's got a 2-player mode as well. So you get one player as the boss and one player as the ship, and you can swap around and things like that. It's quite an odd game of a bigger character versus a smaller character with 2 players. Whereas most of these don't support 2 players because there was no way to really give a player control of the monster. You'd have to play very strange, in a strange way. I don't think anybody's tried it. Yeah, the musics are mostly removed in the American version, which is why I found the Japanese version. Konami had a terrible habit of doing that. Removing content in the US versions or making the game balance completely wrong. Removing story scenes, adding drain timers to your health, and just all things that ruin the games. Which is why I'll always say, if you're playing a Konami game, most of the time pick the Japanese version. It's how it's meant to be, not a messed up version. Yeah, that's why I say any change to the time just change. It affects your internal clock. You're still waking up at the same time, but the time is different. So, this one doesn't. I don't see many people talking about this game or playing this game. Maybe it's because they've only played the non-Japanese version and it's a bit less interesting. Or maybe it's just because it's not a competitive fight to people. They're not playing it the same way. Competitive fighters are the ones that really took off and gained huge popularity with Street Fighter 2. Boss fights are always good, aren't they? I'm glad to hear that, Tony. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm doing it. I'm covering non-arcade stuff too, because I think there's a lot of non-arcade stuff that can run just as well on an arcade cabinet. It might require a little bit of effort in terms of setting up some controls or save state to get straight to the game. But I do want to give people quite a few ideas of what they can be playing, what they can be looking at, and just trivia about the games too. So, were there any favourites you found so far? I mean, this doesn't quite have the same depth as Warsaw Red in terms of the RPG system, passwords and things. But it's still a solid game. You just learn the characters and then you think, oh, you've got lives as well. I forgot that. I thought it was game over, then I'm not. I've got another life. So, what genre is this? I mean, I guess it's a one-on-one fighter, but it's also slightly like a beat-em up. Definitely a genre of its own this time. This type of game. At times it plays more like a beat-em up. I'm actually getting alright. I mean, I'm just button mashing. But again, that's what I mean. The Konami versions, quite often the Japanese versions, are fairer, not quite as brutal to play. Being a Konami game, you've got some nice blending effects going on, so you've got the water effects. This enemies may be a little less interesting than some of them though. Just a sort of lobby, loopy feature. Now he's getting his arms, and there we go. Sort of evolving a little bit. Kind of creepy with the design, I think. It's called Slime as well. I guess that's an appropriate name. It's quite slimy. Jelly. And dizzy. So this time I am trying to say throw in maybe a few more non-arcade games. I hope that's okay with everybody. Because there are far more non-arcade games in general. Sometimes I think they're the ones people are probably less aware of. And I've got one that was requested the other day to play next, I would say. So, well, this was Konami's Monster Mollers, or the Japanese version, which is, Sentai, Dadandarn, or I can't pronounce these Japanese names at all, as you can probably tell. Kyukyoku. Anyway, it's that game, and it's the Japanese clone Monster Mollers. Oh yeah, it does have two-player. You can fight two players versus the computers too, which is a nice touch. Obviously I wasn't doing that because I don't have another player to play here, but yeah, just that. Right, so yes. The next game is for the NES, and it was requested last stream. I can't remember who requested it because I did not write down their name, even though I wrote down the request, which was very silly of me. And again, this is the Japanese version, which technically has a bit of a title before the main title, but outside of Japan, it was called Metal Storm. In Japan, it's got, yeah, it's sort of, again, it's got a Japanese name that translates to Gravity Armor Metal Storm. It's a bit loud, so down goes the volume. But this is quite similar to Konami's Surprise Attack, which also employs a gravity mechanic as you go along the stages. And I guess also if you played Capcom Strider, that's got sections with a gravity mechanic, but that's sort of what's central to this game. And you've got your little intro going on here, so I'll let it play out. Mr. Jerome, it was your request. Right. Well, here you go then. I did check it out earlier, and it seems to run well, and I did enjoy playing it as well, so thank you for requesting it. You know, I was glad to find these new games. So sorry for not noting down your name at the time. I just quickly noted it down. Yeah. Anyway, so I'll just skip ahead to the gameplay now. Anyway. So yeah, here we go. Metal Storm. It's got a password system, so you can start on a late level, but we'll start from the beginning. So, you know, normal controls, you can just jump around, you can fire. If you hold up and jump, you flip to the ceiling, down and jump, you flip to the ground again. Simple enough. Just change the gravity so the enemies also flip with you, which means you can sometimes catch them mid-flip and kill them. You don't actually have to kill most of these, you can just power your way through. But, you know, let's take it easy and kill some enemies. Yeah, it does have that look to it, and it's one of those robot shooters too. And I know there's been a bit of interest expressed in those on the stream, like when I played Roga. But run and gunny, platformy. It's a good mix of elements. This one. Not rushing is the key as well. I found if you rush, you tend to just end up dead. Pleasant music. Let's get rid of this thing. There we go. Let's get up here. And to get out of here, I think you have to twist it and then jump again. There we go. You see? Flip the gravity. Don't do that. I've heard this game's quite short, but it's very easy to just get hit like that if you're not careful. So I don't think it's going to feel too short. I think because, you know, when I was trying to play it, I kept doing things like that. Yeah, the fake parallax scrolling is a nice technique too. I mean, it's not the most difficult technique to pull off because you just got, I think, tiles in the different scroll positions. You change the tile which you're using. I've seen documents about how it was pulled off in other games, but it always looks good, especially when you consider, you know, the hardware doesn't actually have two layers, so it is an entirely faked effect. But you know, it's one of those clever programming techniques that I've seen used on other systems too. I've seen fake column scroll effects pulled off in a similar way. I think it's one of the Zavix games. The hardware has scroll effects, but it doesn't have column scroll effects. And there's a game that's the shooter on there is doing loads of column scroll effects. Nope. It's all very well animated too. That's what the other thing I noticed was, you know, you've got plenty of frames of animation for your crouch and your walk cycle. I don't know why I'm even bothering to kill that one, actually. I don't need to. Oh no, I do want to be that. No. Get lots of shots in, run away, more shots, run away. This reminds me of the lava in Sonic the Hedgehog, where you could have run away from the lava, because that's a tight little passage. Although obviously we're not dealing with lava here. Upgraded shot. Yeah, it plays really well. It's smooth and responsive. Yeah, I can. I think C64 is where I've seen it a lot. Yes. Ooh. Yeah, I'd never heard of this game or played it before, so I am really glad you mentioned it. Because it's not one I've even seen in any of the bootleg devices. So, I mean, this is about as far as I played when I played it, just to test out that it ran. So the whole emulation could fall apart in MAME after this point, but it seems like it's not going to. Yeah, this is interesting too, because the level actually wraps at this point, so your fire wraps too. And I got killed. Yeah, if you've not played this one, anybody who's watching, it plays really, really well. Better than I would have expected it to. And these closing on you so you have to be quick. Yep, that's what I remember them doing. Ooh, you have to be quick. Bit of slow down there, but not too bad. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh god. Can't go there. I can go through here, can't I? Yep. Oh, got caught. So you have to get your timing just right, and that is game over. And I didn't write down the password, so oh no, I get to continue. Okay, I will continue then. I will use my continue and see how far I can get on this level. But you do, it does become a slightly puzzle aspect to it there. It does become. So. Oh dear. And yeah, you have to hold, you can't just quickly, if you quickly tap the button, do a smaller jump, which again is good to see. But if you're doing something like that where you've got to jump through the platforms, you have to remember to hold it, not just tap it, otherwise you'll do what I just did there and not manage to jump out the way. Really, you want to jump out the way. So, you know, the controls feel really well refined in it. Well designed. The same place I died last time. So yeah, I'm probably failing on a section that you would consider easy, but this is my first time actually trying to play this section. But yes, that's the thing with the NES. There are so many games; it's easy to overlook. Huge parts of the library, great games on the system, and as it's not a system I really grew up with, beyond only one or two games, and quickly getting rid of the machine because it was just too expensive to buy any games for. I've not really seen much. Right, that's that section. Can I go out there? Yes, I can go out there. So what's going on now? I thought they might be spikes. They were spikes. Okay. I can continue one more time. Last set of lives on this one, and then I'm going to move on to probably an arcade game, because I know I think people would like to see some arcade games. Okay. Okay, the doors kill. Slightly puzzle-like element again. Right. This just wraps, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. So what do I do here? This kills me immediately. I guess I jump and then do it? Yeah. I mean, it's a different genre to V5. That's, oh. We're talking about a different game here. When you put lots of V's, I think Toplan's V5, but that's just a shooter. Maybe VVVV is not one I've played. In fact, I think you mentioned VVVV before, didn't you? I still don't think I've researched it or played it. Yeah, I do like this. There's a nice puzzle element going on here. Oh, don't miss on there. I mean, I think the levels are only about just slightly bigger than this. No, they're only screen height, aren't they? They just loop into. Oh, this goes all the way there, and that goes there. Oh, okay. This is different. Can I jump up there? I can jump up there. I fall forever here because it's just a loop. Oh, I got caught by the door. Did it too early, and that's game over. Yeah, so it's completely not Toplan's V5. If you put lots of V's, I just think of Toplan's V5. But yeah, it's not one I played then. I think my friend Sarah said she played it, didn't she? But I have not played it. I'll have to have a look at it. But now I know it's definitely a different game than the one I was thinking of. I will do that. Anyway, that was what was that? I forgot what it was called. Metal Storm on the NES. That was the Japanese version. But Metal Storm, very good game, that one actually. I enjoyed that a lot, and so it's what I've discovered while I've been doing these streams, thanks to the recommendation from Mr. Drone there in the chat. Mr. Drome in there in the chat. No, that's the thing. Outside of MAME, I'm probably not aware of a lot of the current games. Or 2010 is not that current, but there's a lot of things I've missed because I've spent so much time looking at the MAME stuff, and it doesn't always leave you that much time to play games. I've been trying to get into more playing games recently, but I've got a huge number of games that have just not been played, and that's how it is sometimes. Ooh. Shall we go? I think this is vertical. Yeah, this is going to be vertical. Sega's Mr. Viking. One of the old classic System 1 games. You know, the type of hardware you got Wonder Boy and the like on. But here you got a nice, simple arcadey shooter. I do like the Sega games of this era as well, the System 1 games. They've usually got the little sprites, some well-written music, well-composed music maybe I should say, and they're fairly addictive. They get a good balance. So, I mean, I don't know much about this game aside from playing it once or twice. It just seems like one of those early shooters that's easy enough to start playing and then just gets quite tough. Obviously the Viking theme is a bit different. In some ways, I'm reminded of Game Ground because that's got all the different time zones and character types and ways you fire your projectiles, arrows and like. I mean, Game Ground's a fantastic game. Nothing like this in terms of how you play it, but I just get a similar feel from the character and the way you're shooting here. The projectile. Game Ground I'm going to have to play on stream one time. I think I might have already played it once, but I will have to play more of Game Ground on stream. Probably do a Sega stream at some point. Yeah, I can see why it's one of your favourites on the NES too. It seems like a very good game. How do I kill these? Like that. And say, since the NES wasn't especially popular compared to the Master System over here, there are just going to be a lot of NES games that I've not heard of. I mean, I do watch SNES Drunk's channel. I think they've covered mostly SNES things, but they have covered other games on other platforms. And I don't recall seeing that one on there. So, you know, my Nintendo knowledge is not the best. And it's just based on really watching other streamers and what other people have played. And the problem is, you go to a lot of NES streams and they're just streaming all the really well-known games. And well, yeah, while Zelda's a perfectly fine game, I've seen enough of Zelda to know and have an opinion of Zelda already and not need to see it again. So, you know, if I was to catch that game being streamed instead, I'd probably be sat there watching and seeing how far they could get in it and watching to the end. Because it's a good discovery. Yeah, I mean, this one's just a cute little shooter, really, isn't it? Walk along, shoot things. Not a whole lot to it. Quite Master System-like as well. Right, was this on the Master System? I don't remember. Checkpointed though. Is that a bonus life? Right, so after this one, I'll probably go another console game. I've got a SNES one in mind next, actually, after just saying I don't know much about the SNES. I was just going through a list of M games and firing up random M games, and I found one that I thought was quite good. Probably not the most obscure one, but I'll have a look at it shortly and you'll see. And again, I'll probably entirely butcher the pronunciation of the title, because that's what I do. Is that game over? No, I got another life. So yeah, Sega's Mr. Viking. Nobody really seems to talk about this one. Maybe it's just a bit too generic and forgettable. I don't know. Now I am dead. But I quite enjoy the times I've played this one. There we go. 84 by Sega. Right. So as I say, I'm going to have a quick look at a SNES game. So this one is Majuu, I believe it's called, also known as the King of Demons. I've seen it refer to that. It apparently was only released in Japan at the time, but I have seen some English screenshots from it, so I think it might have been translated or something. But yeah, this is sometimes described as Castlevania with a gun. It's got these lovely little sprites. You know, initially it seems quite plain. Shoot this, and some text I don't understand. So you know, let's skip through this. And the story doesn't seem important to playing the game from what I was testing earlier with this one. And then you've got the little boss battle. Well, say, or you will have shortly. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. You've got the nice mosaic effects, which the SNES is known for, some transparency effects. You know, you can tell it's a SNES game. But I like the way when you fire your shot, you don't see the bullet, but you do see where the shot lands. And it, you know, you get the little impact mark where the bullet's gone in, and you get the explosions. And I didn't have any problems doing this earlier. There we go, you see. I do like games with small sprites like this, especially well animated ones. It's an art style I can really go for, and many games forgot about this once the 16-bit era arrived, and just thought the sprites had to be bigger and everything else. But a well-designed small sprite with plenty of frames of animation can look just as good. I mean, especially if the enemies that you've got bigger enemies to fight against, it just makes them seem more intimidating. I'm not doing very well this time. I think I've lost a life already. Well, you see, that thing's massive compared to me, which makes it seem scary. It would help if I wasn't just dying on everything at the moment. But there, the floor's collapsed, so I don't even have to fight it. And now it really starts to look more like Castlevania. I'll shoot this stuff off. You can jump into more bullets if you like me. There's a little zombie there. But has anybody played this one? Or is this a new SNES game for some people here too? I think it does seem to be fairly popular. So I can understand if people have already seen this one, but it was just not one I was aware of. And like I say, I was just trying random SNES games and loaded this one up and thought, oh, that's actually pretty good. Oh, you got a double jump, okay. That's handy to know, actually. There we go. Oh, don't want to roll into you. So yeah, it's got a good control scheme actually. I don't know how many of the buttons do anything, because that's the one thing with the SNES that I sometimes forget. It's got a lot more buttons than, say, the Mega Drive. But you've got your shoulder buttons too, which were often put to good use. In fact, those SNES controllers really set the design for what was to come. There we go, got a health restore. This also in some ways reminds me of some of the more recent C64 games I've seen being played. I've not played Gun Action. I do like Flashback though, so Gun Action is one I might have to have a look at. Oh, you mean the Gun Action? You mean the Gun Action in the game, right? Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant there was a game called Gun Action. Sorry, that's me misreading. Flashback I find is slower paced than this. Flashback's one I had on the Amiga. I'm not meant to get killed by this spider. Need a better strategy for killing this. You can't fight upwards either. Go out of the way, that's always a good strategy. Oh, don't do that. There we go. So yeah, the whole roll mechanic works. Nope, got caught. Don't know where. It doesn't seem to have a health bar that I can see. No, don't. Yeah, no. Bad. Yeah, Flashback is a very slow-paced puzzle game. It's the one thing. It's not always obvious from when you first fire it up. It's all about puzzles. No, it's not really a platformer. How much health does this have? Babe, don't do that. I'm obviously not the best at this. Game over already. But yeah, this is another one of those that I discovered while researching for this stream, and will probably come back to. See where it puts me back on a continue. It's going to be back at the start, or is it going to be on that boss? it's on the boss. I might give it one more try if it's back at the start now. I'll come back to this one another time. Hey Santeri, how you doing? I've just been playing through a whole bunch of games at the moment, sort of alternating between arcades and home computer games and console games. So welcome. You've not missed, but I would say you've not missed too much. I have gone through a lot of games already, but there are plenty more to come. You know, there's another hour and a half of stream, so I hope you can settle down and enjoy a few things. How you been anyway? Okay. Right. Let's go vertical. Let's go Konami. That doesn't sound good. Is that close to where you live then? Nobody. No, I say nobody involved. I hope, because you know it's always a worry if you see something like that on the news. Not that it's better if it's people you don't know, but if it's people you do know, it's that's always good. I mean, it's not always about the casualties, though, is it? Whiplash injuries and the like can be pretty serious, but yeah, no casualties is always better. So yeah, this is Mad Gear, which is sort of the final evolution of LED Storm, but maybe the one that's the most generic in terms of gameplay, and not the one anybody here knows as LED Storm. I mean, the other, this just takes LED Storm and almost just turns it into bump and jump. With a, you know, just get to the goal. The whole speaking car system's gone. It's just the graphics got an overhaul too. In this stage, the graphics, if you compare this to the Rally 2020 whatever it was version, it does look nicer, but it's not as memorable. I don't know which I prefer to play, actually. As much as I'm praising the 2012 version, I think this is maybe more accessible and therefore more fun in that sense. But yeah, LED Storm's another one of those where I'm going to have to cover the different versions at some point, because it's really interesting to see how, you know, the earliest version we found even has a shooting mechanic, which makes more sense with the LED Storm title, because I think the L was meant to stand for laser. So, you know, calling this version LED Storm wouldn't even make much sense. It's probably why it got renamed to Mad Gear in the end. No, I'm out of energy. See, there are still bits of the announcement, but there's just more of the talking announcement in the LED Storm version. Or the, you know, the older version. Come on, let's just give it another credit. Yeah, they did have good music on the home ports. I have really good memories of the home ports, actually, but now if I go back and play them, they're really bad. The scrolling is not nice, they're slow. It's just one of those games where the home ports seem to have aged really badly. And it's become one of those, you know, those games where there's great music but no gameplay. I don't know, I enjoyed it at the time. I don't know. I was just really glad when the other version was emulated, because it's the important version that the ports were based on. Whereas this was largely forgotten. But here we go. Maybe it's just this whole jumping along the big sections of road that was appealing, or there was some appeal to it that's been lost over the years. It's a bit like Passing Shot, actually. I remember really enjoying Passing Shot on the home systems because it had that huge zooming ball effect. Obviously it wasn't real zooming, but the ball became massive as it was closer to the camera. But now Passing Shot is just such an ordinary tennis game. There's no real reason to try and play it. There are far better tennis games. Oh dear. Well, I'm doing quite badly at Mad Gear, so I'll close Mad Gear. Yeah, I think that's often said. Tim Follin's best work is all on games that are really, really, really bad. It's just how it's ended up. Great music, terrible games. Right. Oh, I mentioned there's going to be some tile matching. Now this one is one that actually confused me a bit because there seems to be an emulation bug, but I'm thinking it might be a game bug because the code, the hardware is not complex. But this is SemiCom's Majuu. This is the Korean release. Apparently there was a export release, but we've not found it yet. Yeah, that's really all Mad Gear is. It's 16-bit burning rubber in the end. It was simplified down to that concept. It's not bad. It's just I don't think it's as interesting as LED Storm was. Oh, I've got test mode on. LED Storm had more depth to the gameplay, whereas that is just 16-bit burning rubber really, with some big jumps. Anyway, this is SemiCom's SemiCom game, and it's primarily a tile matching game. You've got your little buffer of how many tiles you can pick up once you've got to match 3. It's it's quite simple. I've set the dip switch so that there's a bonus round every. You see, you fill that up without getting the tile matches. You waste a credit. So that's how you lose. You've got to look where your items are you want to pick up and pick them up in the right order. And yeah, there we go. So you get the Sentai, clear that out. Let's get rid of the moons. Now, I'm mainly putting this one on because I do want to talk about this, what seems to be a glitch. Or maybe in the game, maybe in the emulation, but we'll see. Anyway, after a round or 3 rounds, depending on the dip switch, you get the minigame selection. I'm going to save state here. It's not that one. So let's just have a look at the minigames anyway. The explanations are in Korean. I can't read them, but I'm sure this is just hammer buttons and catch a shark, you know? It says hit the button. So I don't know when you hit a button or what you're meant to do, but, you know, it's a fishing minigame. It seems to work. What's this one? A boxing minigame. Again, it's in Korean. So you press the direction at the right time and punch the guy in the face. I mean, I don't know if there's a technique to scoring points. Anyway, that's that mini game. That's the same one. What's this one? Parachuting guns. Oh, it's just a shooter, isn't it? Oh yeah, you don't shoot the people. Just shoot the enemy. Anyway, that's that mini game. What's this mini game? This is the mini game that doesn't work. Now, I don't know if there's some specific instruction here in Korean that tells me what I'm meant to be doing here, but to me, this looks like I should be turning the handle. No amount of turning the handle or anything does anything. If you're happy to a joypad, sometimes I can get the handle to turn slightly, but it's like the inputs just are broken on this mini game. You know, it's not track and field, like you're not mashing buttons, you're not doing this. I don't know why the game would be called Skyscraper in that sense, but yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything that works here. I think it might be mapped to a... Is this mapped to the stick? So yeah, what is going on here? Is this just this mini game is broken, or is there an emulation glitch? Because the inputs on this is a simple 68K based system. The protection data is verified. It's not a protection glitch. There's no reason there should be an extra piece of hardware for a wheel or anything, just for one mini game. But it doesn't seem to be playable. I don't know why I'm doing for joining the second player. I can't join the second player right now. I did try looking at the game code and couldn't see anything obvious. But yeah, all I can do is wait for the time to run out. So that needs studying, maybe? I don't know. I mean, it's SemiCom, it's low budget. It could just be a broken game. It's actually maybe Skyscraper in terms of it's a pile of tiles. That would actually make sense. Thinking about it, I mean, obviously these games are usually called sort of Shanghai, but it is a pile of tiles that could in many senses be considered a skyscraper. Maybe that's what they were going for, if it's got the same meaning in Korean. So that's one to think about. And otherwise, this game is actually really well done. It's got good, smooth, responsive controls in the tile matching part. You know, I like it. It's just when you get to that mini game that is completely broken, it sort of puts me off. It's like, well, this is not of the standard quality I was expecting. But yeah, I do like SemiCom games. I've said that before. They're probably my favourite, the Korean developers. And this is a decent tile matching game from SemiCom. I just wish I knew what was wrong with that mini game. If it's actually broken or in MAME, or if it's broken on the PCB. But without save states, it's much more difficult to actually get the specific mini game you want. There we go. It's just... So that one's already been done, so that one's off the cards. Luckily, you're not going to get the same broken minigame twice. So if you do sit through it, then you can continue playing the game as normal. What we're doing here then. So it's not really clear what I'm doing on a lot of these minigames. Blowing out candles? Hitting the button to blow out more candles? I'm not sure. It's not obvious. But yeah, that's that one. So Cheon possibly also means skyscraper with Korean. Or maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. I think the English version was just called something like Airang. But that's not dumped. I don't know. You say I don't know. We've got a flyer for it, but not the actual release game. Shall we stick with tile matching? Now, this is one where I will have to be careful, because this does have a with girls mode, which I will not be selecting. This is Match It 2, one of the ones on Irem hardware, and one of the encrypted games as well. This was so this took quite a lot of work to get it working. I remember, you know, talking with the developer at the time who was doing the decryption of it, and all the little things that were going wrong because the decryption was incomplete, including this row scroll effect on the title screen. When he'd implemented one of the wrong opcode substitutes, this had a very slow wavy effect that actually looked a lot better than the intended fast wave effect that's going on here. It just looked like calmer water, and this is more of an intense effect. So until we found an original reference, we thought that this effect was wrong and the other one was right, but that disagreed with other parts of the code. So in the end, we concluded that yeah, it had to be like this, and that's how it's meant to be. But these encrypted ones took a lot of getting to work because for every CPU opcode, you can basically 8-bit value for the opcode can be swapped with any other one. There's a table inside the CPU. So you've got to look at the code and work out what makes sense in what context, and do it all by hand. This and Risky Challenge were two of the more difficult ones to get running. But some of the Toplan sound CPUs also use the same V25 encryption, so they were also a challenge. But this one's, I like the visuals on this. It's very eye-popping colours, designs. In terms of a tile matching visuals on a tile matching game, this is one of the ones I actually think I like to see. I like to look at. I'm still not amazingly good at most of these games, and I might have messed this one up already. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too long on any of these tile matching games though, because I know they're not everybody's cup of tea. They're slow-paced games, not thrilling to watch, but I think it's still worth demonstrating what I would consider to be some of the the better ones in the genre. Yeah, this isn't looking too good, is it? Have I actually messed this up completely? I might have done. I don't want to undo. I'm not always the best at these games, are I? Oh, there we go, timeout. Oh hey all guys, so how you doing? Yeah, so this is Match It 2. I like the visual style that one's got, and I did put in the title tile matching games, and I've got it off the list of M games now, so there's that to it. The other thing in my title was morality. So morality, I looked at Mortal Kombat 4 at the start and how it was released in a completely unfinished state, which is kind of, do you want to get people to put coins in arcades that aren't finished? Seems a little questionable. But also morality can come into play when you're dealing with asset theft. This is Mission Craft by Sun. It was released in 2000. It runs on a Hyperstone type hardware. I will warn you, yeah, it's marked as not working because after about 40 minutes the game starts to act weird. Other than that, it works. The sound emulation is bad, so there's that. But yeah, the game borrows quite a bit, as in everything. Yeah, we're still emming. So yeah, with this game, you've basically got StarCraft graphics in a shooter, and for some reason, this is the choice the Korean developer Sun. I'm wondering if it's the same Sun that made Mr. Dig that I looked at yesterday, the day before. But yeah, this is all just StarCraft assets, including the health bars on the buildings you're destroying. And it's not actually a terrible game. That's the funny thing with it. But they've just not got any original assets. And I'm sure the MIDI music, if the emulation was better, would be more obviously stolen from places too. I mean, this plays a lot better than any Famicom game, I'll say that much. But it almost plays like a Psycho shooter. in the same sense that Wyvern Wings does. Although Wyvern Wings is a SemiCom game and it's actually an entirely original. The bosses are maybe the most disappointing thing here, because this is a boss, but the boss sprite is just another ripped sprite. It's no bigger, it's no more impressive, it's just got a longer health bar. And I just ran into a normal sized bullet. This is one of those platforms where this QDSP sound could really do with a lot of work. The sound balance is all over the place, some effects are missing. But you get the idea. So it's more or less a MIDI player. But since it's since you have to emulate the CPU using the DSP, it doesn't sound quite correct, and you can't really just black box it as a MIDI player because that's not the main way. Hey Delta Ray Studios, how you doing? Good evening. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, this does feel very Psycho, but with ripped StarCraft graphics. I'm wondering if it's somehow related to the engine that was used for Wyvern Wings, although obviously let's say that was SemiCom, not Sun. It controls well, it's responsive. It's just, you made a game where you've not made any of the graphics yourself, and you've sold it commercially. And that is a somewhat questionable thing to do. Obviously they got away with it from everything I know. I've not heard any lawsuits filed against this game. But, I've not heard many against Korean games in general. It's probably just impossible to get anywhere trying to drag them through courts. Music actually sounds a little better than I remember, but I don't think the emulation's been improved lately. I'd also like to get to the bottom of the bug of where the game starts to go a bit wrong after about 40 minutes. It feels like maybe the Hyperstone timers just break, or it could be a protection check that they've put in later. I don't really know. There are definitely issues with the Hyperstone timers or something similar though, because Raccoon World, which is another Hyperstone game, runs at a really weird frame rate. Everything's moving too fast, the timers, but I don't know. So the Hyperstone emulation isn't perfect. Just could be all manner of issue. Any one of many. I'm good, thank you, Delta Ray Studio. Hope you are too. So yeah, I'm going to play another credit on Mission Craft, because it's one of those curiosities, like many Hyperstone games. It seems to be a period where Korean developers were trying to do something original, because outside of Korea nobody really used the Hyperstone, so they had to write their own code. But you still got cases like this where everything else was stolen. Pardon me. So yeah, I don't really know the full story behind that one, but it was one that I was, when it got emulated, I was really excited to see it emulated, because it was just such a complete rip-off of the StarCraft graphics. I'm going to look at a plug and play now, one that was emulated recently, and that's the MGT20-1, which is a Sunplus based one, which appears to be sold in Germany by MGT. Now this one is interesting because it contains games we haven't seen on any of the others. Not necessarily these ones, but some of the arcade rip-offs. Puzzle Bubble, Puzzle Loop, Space Mission. So let's have a look at Space Mission on the MGT. Now this is just a graphic rip of Nichibutsu's Armed Formation, Armed F, just without any of the gameplay. Because the gameplay is just literally repeating this forever, with the odd change of enemy and the pickups that don't really do much. And that's kind of what you get on this plug and play. And again, this specific game, this rip-off, is not on any other units. It's only on this one. We've not seen it on any of the other generic Sun Plus units. Just this MGT 20-in-1. Yeah, it's like a terrible version of On Formation that just has some of the sprites ripped. They're going to the effort of putting the row-scroll background in, though. That's the thing. It feels like whoever played this was at least more aware of the source material than a lot of the bootlegs you find. There you see, I've got some power-ups that don't really do anything. I don't get any extra shots or anything. They're just cosmetic for the most part. Yeah, I can bash things with them. I don't know if that's the same on Armed Formation actually, but that's the only power-up you get in this. And then you get this boss thing, like this, which is just scaled up. I mean, look, the sprite resolution is half of what you see there. So you can beat this. And then it just continues and continues and continues and continues. You say that's that one. Puzzle Bubble. Oh look. It's Puzzle Bubble-ish, but without a proper scoring system. But it actually plays better than the official licensed Puzzle Bubble that was put out on the caplet, which is really quite silly. I mean, this actually is fast and smooth and moves properly, and you can aim properly. But again, very silly. Yeah, there's no Bubble Ball characters, it's just puzzle. You are right. Again, it's kind of almost there. Puzzle Loop. They've actually called it Puzzle Loop, not Zoomer. Oh look, it's puzzle. It uses the alpha blending effect. It's also got awful sound. That's probably an emulation glitch. But it plays better than a lot of the Puzzle Loop rip-offs on the other things. But it's just such a rip-off. That's an original game. That's an original game. That's an original game. Colony 7. It's a modern version of the Taito game. It's like, was this being developed for Taito at some point? Because we'll come back to that. This is Colony 7 is not a great game in the first place. Why would you copy it? Why would you modernise it? It did appear on completely different hardware in original form on the Taito Plug and Play. The one that Radica put out. But that didn't have modernised versions on. That just had the original versions running on terrible ELAN hardware with loads of issues because there was no attention to detail. But then you got Mars Rescue, which is a modernised Lunar Lander. And again, Lunar Lander was on that Taito unit. So I'm wondering if the company that made this had been asked to do that thing for Taito, and then Taito went with Radica instead, so these were just leftovers. I think the sound is probably just a main thing, because the Sun Plus sound hardware is not perfect. There are some other issues with Sun Plus games. Yeah, there's that. Then there's this one. Again, this is Taito. This is Space Invaders. This is actually a very reasonable port of Space Invaders, using Space Invaders sounds, but completely replaced graphics. And this is actually better than the Space Invaders version that was on some of the plug and plays, the licensed ones. The Caplet Space Invaders is terrible. The Radica Space Invaders is terrible. This one actually plays okay and has decent enemy movement. But it just feels like this must have been some project that was developed for Taito. But then you've got Stormfighter. And this, obviously it's Irem. It's R-Type type stuff. But you've got all the layers of scrolling. You've got the big transparency effects. Again, this is actually making pretty good use of the hardware, despite being nothing but a looping, almost demo of what a game could be. So you've got your charge shot too. Look, it's like a preview of, yeah, we can do an R-Type game, just with only the bare minimum of anything implemented, but still a technical show of hardware. I mean, this parallax effect here actually helps fix some bugs in the Sun Plus emulation. What else we got? I mean, we've got other simple ones. Some of these ones did appear in other plug and plays that I've not emulated yet. There's a touchpad type one that has some of these in that I need to work out. I mean, this Sonic Fighter, nothing to do with Sonic the Fighters. This seems to be a sort of version of Deep Storm. That's all pre-rendered background, but it moves with you. The sound is just as bad on hardware as this one. It's just a simple sample loop and nothing else. But yeah, this is like the Deep Storm that's on the Jungle Attack units, but different. It actually looks quite nice with the pre-rendered background. But yeah. So yeah, the MGT20-in-1 plug and play. Of all the plug and plays I have emulated, that one just stands out as because it's got all those things that aren't on anything else, and the things where somebody's clearly paid attention to the arcade games. They've got more of the gameplay mechanics in there, the charge shots, the parallax scrolling on the backgrounds. They know how to use the hardware, but the content and the Taito stuff, it's all ended up in that single plug and play that doesn't fit with the others. I mean, some of the sports games on there are also on the Scenario My Sports Challenge units, but most of that content is just odds and ends of sort of what almost feel like preview demo versions, maybe things that are made to try and impress a company to get a license. I really don't know. Such an odd one. I'd love it if one day somebody came forward and said, oh yeah, we made that for this reason, that's why it exists, that's what happened to it, and all that. But I don't know if anybody ever will. You never know with these. So, but yeah, it's, I'm always looking for things that I wasn't expecting. And when I started the plug and play, looking at plug and plays, I wasn't expecting to find that. And that makes it, memorable to me, and it makes it worthwhile doing it, because I think if we hadn't started emulating them, things like that would have just been forgotten. And I don't like it when things are just forgotten. Anyway, shall we go with a nice arcade game now? This is another Konami one, Mystic Warriors. Actually, is there a Japanese version of this? Yeah, let's do the Japanese version just because you know what I said earlier. Konami's Mystic Warriors. Skull. Flashy red skull. I guess that's the Skull HQ. It says Skull on it. You don't really need to read the story, do you? But there you go. Quite the bunch of misfit ninjas you have there. I'll be this one. I like the sunglasses. A really dodgy walk cycle, but it's a solid shinobi-ish platformer. I mean, I don't want to say it is shinobi because it's not really shinobi. It's more of a run and gun-ish game, but yeah, there are definitely some creative characters there. I mean, and say this run cycle is what Konami animation. I don't always get it. Close range attacks, you see? There you go. Ooh. And there you go. Chopped in half by its own saw blade. Karate, judo. I think somebody's been practicing on the trees. Didn't mean to do that. Little blending effect. Yeah, I've said before, I like Charlie Ninja, and I do like this type of game. There you go, a little advert for another game. Very cheeky. Sunset Riders. Yeah, I think that's why that Sunset Riders advert was there. It was just a little, yeah, this is like Sunset Riders. I mean, not as like Sunset Riders as Cowboys of Mumesa, but yeah, it's that sort of Konami game, but with a ninja theme this time. And it's a pretty good one, I have to say. You know, as these games go, I've enjoyed spending time with it. Maybe one you want a second player to join in with for added enjoyment, but you can say the same for most arcade games. You've got a second player to play with. Twice the fun, unless you're just killing each other. Oh dear. Here we go, ski resort time. My ninja skills. I fell in a hole. That's not very ninja skillful. On 2 hours 15 minutes, so you've got about another 45 minutes of the stream remaining. I'm unsure of exactly what I'm going to be covering in that time, so you might all be surprised. Yeah, I keep thinking every stream I do, I'm going to have covered all the remaining M games. Now I've got a pair of skis on. But I'm looking at my list and I've still not covered any of the Metal Slug games. So, you know, there might be a Metal Slug special M stream or something like that in the future. Because, you know, a game like Metal Slug 3, even though I'd be credit feeling it would probably deserve a fair bit of playthrough because there's so much content. Please continue. Yeah, this one I'm sure most people are aware of because it's one. I think it's one of the better known Konami games, although not as well known as Sunset Riders or maybe even Cowboys and Mumesa. I don't know. Mumesa is one of the odd ones because to me that seems like it's a well-known game, but whenever anybody's streaming arcade stuff, they're always surprised to find out there's a very similar game to Sunset Riders, but with, you know, the cows. So maybe Mumesa is not as well known as I think it is. Maybe this one's better known, or maybe just Sunset Riders is well known, and none of the others are. I don't think this was ported either, was it? Or at least not to the systems I spent time with. I just used quite a lot of graphical effects in places, so I'd imagine any port would be downgraded. It's one of those that if it got ported, it'd probably have to be Saturn, PlayStation era to pull it off. I can imagine somebody maybe trying it on the SNES, but I don't know if it got a SNES port. Best rocket. I'm getting a Wacky Racers vibe from it now. Avoid mines. Come back. There we go. I want to end you. Also, it's reminding me of some of Archer, the skiing parts, or the snowmobile parts maybe. Well, it wasn't the snowmobile. I did enjoy watching Archer. Good fun show. Not my favourite recent animated show. That would still be BoJack, but no. Can't go wrong with a bit of Archer. I'm not going to continue. That was Mystic Warriors by Konami. And yeah, it's a good one. If you've not played it, I'm surprised, but it might have escaped your attention. Go back to the 80s now. One that's got quite an odd control scheme, I find. And that is Senritsu's Mermaid. 82. Oh, it's not vertical. I thought this was vertical. I'm mistaken, it's horizontal. Or Rock-Ola, as it's correct. They license it, I believe. But yeah, this one you can move left and right, but you have to press a button before you change direction. Because if I've got the sail that way, I can't move right. I have to press the button to actually change before I can move in that direction. Which, you know, adds makes it slightly tricky to navigate. Because you have to remember to press the button before you change direction. But yeah, you can also go up the screen, and you can crash into rocks like that if you're very silly like me, and sink. And you can also ride on the, you know, the little jet stream type thing that's going on here. Well, whatever it is. Not really a jet stream because there's no jet, is there? And it plays different music when you're doing that. You also fall off it and end up in the water and have sharks chasing after you, which I might do on purpose now. There we go, you see. Oh no, I've fallen in the water. Oh dear, there's sharks everywhere. Then how do I actually get back in the boat? I didn't figure that bit out. So, you know. So yeah, that's the problem. I'm not sure how you get back in the boat when you fall out the boat. There must be a way, unless the emulation's broken. It does have hardware collisions. But I've probably just not figured it out yet. But for a game from 82, I think this has got quite a lot of charm. It's colourful, tunes are good. It's not one many people seem to play either. Again, I don't really see anybody ever talking about Mermaid, which is why, you know, I'm not entirely sure how you get back in the boat. So I couldn't find anybody with a recording of how to get back in the boat. But maybe I just didn't look hard enough. There we go, reached the goal. Just on the open sea. Mermaid reaches the goal. Yeah, I guess mermaid is the name of your boat rather than an actual mermaid. Oh. Well, apparently you have to actually do well as get to the end. Unless there's no more to the game than that, but that seems unlikely to me. Rocks hurt. I have to say the live counter. Oh, I got blown into the rock that time. Is not the best drawn graphic in the game. Also, why is there wind now? The first time I played this, I'm fairly sure there wasn't wind at the start of the game. Is it random? That would be an interesting mechanic. Pardon me? Random wind, like a golf game, maybe. Or did I just miss the wind the first time? I'm sure I would have heard the sound effects and noticed it. I'm missing all the gates though, that's not good. I don't think I'm going to do any better this time. I'm probably trying to rush it. It might be. I mean, it might just be. It might be random. It might be somehow rank based. I don't seem to be getting the stream at this point. Oh, no, I've just said that. I've got the stream now. You know, this current. And I'm in the water. Oh dear. Oh, I got back in that time, so you just go from the top. Okay. You know, that's a nice little... There's a few things going on. The whole falling out the boat when you hit those things. It does seem like a different level layout. But I failed the first time, didn't I? I had to continue. I don't know. Well, unless maybe the continue just works differently than I expected. I mean, it is an early game. There weren't really continues in games much in 82. So yeah. Is it going to be different the next time? Because it does say clear, and I've got a marker next to it. Time over. Game over, player one. So yeah, it's actually a continue feature, isn't it? I misread it the first time. So it does start you on the next level if you fail. So it's not starting a new game, it's actually a continue feature in a game in 82. Which to me feels quite early for a continue feature. Maybe it's not that early. But it feels like this shouldn't have a continue feature. But yeah, that's what confused me. I did just continue rather than starting with the credit. I'm just so used to it on these old games, you fail a level, you do the level again. This is a bit tricky. I think also the direction of your sails affects how much the wind moves you. So if you're in a situation like that, it helps to force you to turn your sails away from the wind. So yeah, I've still got blown up the screen. Yeah, I've not played much of this one. Well, it's another that was definitely badly emulated for a while. But I mean, I say a while, I think the improvements were probably a good 10-15 years ago now. But it was considered a broken game for a long time. It's a tricky game, I'll tell you that much. Once that wind gets hold of you and throws you off course, you know. So I start again now. I'll start at that level. Okay, I've played enough of that one. Yeah, this one's a good fun actually. I'm glad I played this one a bit more because I've only looked at it before and thought that looks fun, and it's got, you know, a little unique control scheme to it and everything else, but never really invested the time in playing it. But I'm glad I did. I don't know what the lines down the side of the screen are meant to indicate, like it does there from time to time. Maybe it shouldn't have been called Mermaid because Mermaid is just the name of the boat and not a game about mermaids as such. If you talk about mermaids, I think more of Mermaid Madness on the 8-bit systems, which is not what I'm going to play today at least. Yeah, this is actually a fun little game. I'm glad I played it. Any unreleased games apart from Must Shoot TV? Let me have a look. You mean what? I mean, there's the Maniac Square prototype, which is entirely different to the released version. That might be one to look at, actually. I looked at Maniac Square, the release version, the other day, but the prototype's a very different game. Other than that, there don't actually seem to be many M prototypes. Not in my list, at least. So yeah, let's actually have a look at that one then. This is Gyuyoku's Maniac Square, the 1996. Well, no, not the 1996. That's the wrong date. I think this is from 1994. This is the prototype version, anyway. It's on different hardware, and it's a completely different looking game. No problem, Reacher. I mean, I do this because I enjoy it, and I'm just glad other people enjoy it too. Really, you know, to me, it's important that we take a record of the past forward, and you know, that's what keeps me going, that, and I enjoy doing that. So if people enjoy the results of that, that is all good. But yeah, this version has got the whole split screen 2 players display by default, but it's also got that fancy sort of pinball style display up there. Slightly smaller graphics, slightly different gameplay. It's like, why did they scrap this version? Because to me, if you're talking about which is the better version of Maniac Square, this is the better version of Maniac Square. Yeah, it's just a columns clone, but this one's got character. You've got your little bars like in Nintendo Tetris game, showing you going up as you use the pieces up. And thank you for subscribing. Moo. For following even. Need an easier way to look at that, I think. But, yes. The little berserk rip for the followers and subscribers. Just make sure I know to look at who has subscribed. So thank you for that, Moo. Unless, of course, I was playing Berserk, in which case it would be very confusing. I'd probably miss loads of subscribers if people subscribe while I was playing Berserk. But, you know, it's quite rare I am playing Berserk. I do like Berserk, though. Classic arcade games, Berserk. And Frenzy. Nobody really talks about Frenzy much, but Frenzy is a worthy sequel. And, you know, one of my favourite main development moments was when the sound chips were emulated on Berserk and Frenzy, and the improvements over the years on those, and it just sounds so good these days. And the thing is, when you've got the speech chips emulated like that, it opened up the sort of other language versions. So the German version of Berserk runs with full speech, and there weren't even sample recordings for that before. So, you know, that was a really good memory. Again, it's not a recent one, and it's not work I did personally, but you can appreciate what other people have done for the project. And sometimes it's nice to just watch development and see what goes in, see what changes, see where things are improving. And it's the same with some of the Hyper 64 improvements that went in recently. They're little improvements that just make life a bit nicer. Being able to see the whole car in Road's Edge, for example. But yes, this is a nice columns clone with objectives for each level, and I don't really know why Gaelco scrapped this version, but they did. Maybe it's too easy. I really don't know. It would have been nice to see it further developed, maybe with more animations up there in the panel. But again, it is a prototype. And apparently the little person up there loves this game. So I don't want to play it for too long though, because at the end of the day it is just columns. And not the most exciting one to watch, I'd imagine. It's one of those pass some time and relax type games. It's less manic than the final game, so maybe this doesn't really live up to the name. This is sort of a relaxing square. That's not such an appealing game title, is it? Relax Square. Tells me to complete 30 levels, so there are 30 levels of this game apparently. Lovely. Laptop's decided to update next to me. But there we go, you see. And yeah, it doesn't really evolve too much. Again, it would have been nice to maybe see some more backgrounds, more content. But for a prototype, it's a good one. And it's very different to the final. So it's almost like a different game. And, those are the prototypes that are always worth having a look at too, I think. Because they'll get overlooked otherwise. People just think, oh, it's a prototype. It's just going to be an early, unfinished version of a game. But it's really a different project in that case. Okay. Now we will go. I've done a few arcades in a row, haven't I, actually? So yeah, let's not go where I was going to go. Let's go with an MSX2 game. This is the system's apparently marked as not working, but it works for this game. This is Mon Monster by Hot B. Hot B did some arcade games, usually low budget adult ones for Taito or Data East. But here we go, Mon Monster, where you are playing as Frankenstein's monster. Again, this is one I randomly found while I was just going through games earlier. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit on this one, actually. Hold on. Seems quite quiet. There you go. It's sort of got almost an Alex Kiddish, Wonder Boyish feel to it. Although I died very quickly there. So you punch the blocks again. I think that's why it's reminding you of Alex Kidd. But you control the monster. You're along, you punch your blocks. It looks like a nice little game. So I don't know that much about all the MSX games. I know the MSX2 is a capable machine though. The MSX2 Plus especially can do some really nice graphics. Although not that fast always in the higher colour modes. I just like anything where you get to control the monster, like Frankenstein's monster, is a nice little fun, spooky romp. That's quite tricky to avoid. There we go. Don't think there's any little secrets. Unless there are, unless I can go up there and smash some statues. I don't know. I don't know if I can get up there. Let's not go there. Unless I needed to go there. I don't know a huge amount about this game. Oh, I got killed. But this is one of those, I'm glad I explored some of the other things in MAME, but that are supported in MAME. Yeah, I don't think that the controls are too challenging. It's a two-button game. It's just a case of, working it out. I think most controls are challenging until you work them out, unless they're really, really simple. I mean, I was struggling with the Vectrex Asteroids clone earlier, just because the button mapping wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and that was entirely my own doing for not remapping the buttons. In terms of challenging controls, though, I guess the worst example in an arcade game might be Defender, where we've been told the emulation is broken so often because people don't understand that the game doesn't have a left and right input. It's got a switch direction input. I can't get to that statue. And people just think the game should have left and right to move left and right, not, change direction and thrust. But it was always change direction and thrust. So there's no point to beating this one up. Oh, there's a secret passage apparently. There we go, it's not entirely linear by the looks of it. Don't know what to do about the damn. Oh, I can throw rocks, interesting. Okay. So yeah, apparently I've got multiple moves. Oh, I've got a rock counter down there. I think I just used all my rocks up. So what's this? No, I don't think I can swim. Yeah, it does have a slight Wonder Boy feel to it too. I think it's probably a lot more linear. I'm back at the start. Well, that's a harsh lesson in not going exploring. Yeah. Also, I think it's kind of a cute sprite. I know nothing about this game. I can't fill you in on any background trivia or anything else. I just know it's done by Hot B or published by Hot B, or Hot B were involved, and Hot B is a name I recognise. And that's about all I can say. Don't know if it was ported to any system other than the MSX. Of course, in MAME there are no generic MSX drivers anymore. Every MSX system is an actual real system. So, in this case, I'm running this game on one of the Japanese systems. I just picked a random MSX2 compatible system. There are probably other options to run it, maybe better drivers. I don't know. So yeah. Oh, I got an item from there. That's the point in going up there. Got some extra boots. So about 20 minutes remaining on the stream. There's quite a lot of things I wanted to cover that I have not managed to cover, but you know, this is what happens. Run. Oh dear. It's quite harsh in that it sends you back to the start of the level each time. But yeah, that was Mon Monster by Hot B. Another one I will come back to, because I was enjoying that one when I discovered it, and I will want to see if it, you know, how the game unfolds as the more you play it. Now, I'm going to stick with home computers, and you know, not going to spend too long on this one. It's just a bit of a novelty. What's it called? Now, I figure, you know, as it's 291 days until Christmas, we may as well start to get more into the Christmas spirit. It's appropriate, isn't it? So I'm going to load Merry Christmas on the Spectrum, or Merry Christmas Santa, as it's called, by Icon Software. You know, say, get into the Christmas spirit a bit. Never too early. I'm even wearing red. I am possibly Santa Claus. Wrong colour beard, though. Anyway, should be almost loaded. Okay, here we go. Let's turn the volume back up a little bit. Right, those are lovely keys, aren't they? 6, 7, 8, 9 and 0. They'll do. Look at that rendition of a Christmas song. And it's a bit like the Donkey Kong Rivet stage, in that you're walking across these things and changing the colour. Except it's also a bit bad. And the snowballs have a habit of spawning right on top of you, and all sorts of wonderful, you know, game design flaws like that. So let's see how far I can get before I rage quit. Also, yes, you have to jump over the gaps, otherwise you fall down and you don't survive. Santa cannot fall from heights. I honestly don't know if the game evolves beyond this type of gameplay, or if the entire game is just that, oh, there you go, I mistimed that jump and Santa fell to his death. But you know what, I fired this up expecting to be terrible. Oh yeah, it puts random little messages down the bottom. I think there's about 6 of them. And they're all very silly. Oh, I forgot to jump. So you know. I kind of, you know, next year well, this year when it comes to Christmas, I would like to do a Christmas stream of sorts. So I'm always keeping an eye on different Christmas games, and apparently I died. And I don't just want good Christmas games. I want bad Christmas games. I want any Christmas games that I think I can play towards Christmas. So I make a note of them. And so this is probably not the last time you see this game. Although yes, it will probably be another 291 days before you have to see it again. Unless you decide to go and play it, or somebody else plays it on stream. But that seems unlikely. You know, if we're talking about not great controls, the keyboard controls here aren't great. I think that's what the joystick maps to. Some joysticks map to by default on the Spectrum. It's just how it is. I do like the Spectrum. I grew up with one. So, you know, oh, there we go. I completed 2 levels. I didn't even manage that earlier, and now we've got a very fast-moving snowman. That's what I mean by the snowballs, though. That just came right from behind me. Didn't have a chance. No way I was going to jump past that. It was reacting time. Haha. 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 Yes, Mr. Snowman, you will not defeat me. Get down that ladder, Santa. No, jump over the snowball. Avoid that, avoid that, avoid that. Avoid that too. Ooh, I'm doing quite well this time. Furthest I've ever got in this game. I mean, not really surprising. I hadn't ever played it until a few hours ago, but when I played it a few hours ago, I just kept dying repeatedly and missing the jumps. There we go. I hate cigars. What type of comment is that? I'm sure you do hate cigars, Santa. But there we go. That was Merry Christmas Santa on the ZX Spectrum as just some random game to play. Because that's half the fun, isn't it, of these things? Finding something random to play. I know what I'm doing next. UPL. UPL time. What's M Night? Mutant Night 87 by UPL. This is quite an odd one, I seem to remember. That's very intense flashy colour that you associate with UPL startups. Yeah, okay. Neutron Kun. There we go. Mutant Night. Very cute. I do like this one. This is another that in the early days of MAME was badly emulated. It's got some interesting hardware capabilities. The UPL hardware, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, I'll turn down here. The UPL hardware can keep sprites on screen, so you can do sprite trail effects and sprite cutting effects by only keeping certain colours on. But also it can do big sprites, and one of the issues with this game early on in the emulation was that stray sprites were being left on screen, and it turned out to be quite a simple fix actually. If you've got a bigger sprite, it prevents drawing the sprites after it in the sprite list, so you have to skip over them. But it took a long time for anybody to actually notice that that was what was going on. Also, it's got quite a lot of slowdown because it's a Z80 game and got a lot going on. You can double jump and triple jump, and then you get a massive character. You know, you can't do anything like that one, can you? No. UPL have a habit of creating good, fun, playable games. This does remind me a bit of Atomic Robo Kid. There we go, that's the sprite trail effect. But Atomic Robo Kid's obviously a different style of game. You move around airborne, but it's got some slightly similar I can't put my finger on it, but it feels similar for just being a UPL shooter, I guess. True. There is a slight Toki look, isn't there? Especially the walls there, I would say, were quite Toki, quite temple wall-like. It's one that does have its own visual style, though. The reason I remember this game is mostly because it stands out as having this visual style. Maybe it's the enemy patterns that remind me of Atomic Robot Kid too. They move in straight lines and stop. Atomic Robot Kid does that. This is why invulnerability windows are important when you spawn. Okay, I'm doing quite badly now. But the walk cycle here is nice, well animated too. I always forget you can keep jumping. Oh, look, lots of tiny ones this time. Different power up. Mini-me's, lots of them. Desert fish. If the main one dies, you still die. Toki, I need to play Toki and stream it on Stream Down to not an M stream, but a stream. Yeah, I don't think you can continue from memory. Oh no, you can continue. Sorry. Sometimes I forget. So yes, I can continue in the desert. I stop here. Whew. And die. I think this one does get overlooked though. So that's another reason I want to play this one. I don't really know what genre. It's not quite a platform. Why am I not just going down the hole? Lapse of concentration there. Maybe it just doesn't really fit into a genre. It's not really a platform. There's no platforming. It's not quite a run and gun. Oh dear. Let's fly. No, let's not. Oh my. I think this character could have been used more though. I know it's just a blob with an eye, but somehow has personality. There we go. Yeah, very distinctively UPL2 with the fonts and the flashing colours. It's not a colour cycle, rainbow cycle. Also, that screen overdraw effect, Kaneko used it on some of their games too, but it's something I associate with UPL. How much is this? I don't know. Is that the big one? Yeah, that's a big part. I can't get the egg now because I'm in big form. That was an easy level. We've got about 10 minutes remaining. Well, that was a bonus stage I've just left. That is, yeah, that is one way of looking at it actually, isn't it? Definitely cutesy. And yeah, I can see that actually. But there's only little animation if you don't do anything to. You can duck. Looks a bit more like one when you do that, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't always see that because I'm not that big into films, so I don't always see the imagery in that sense. But yeah, now you mention it, you are right. An inflatable one. Kind of also reminds me of the inflatable aspect. Reminds me of Big Hero, the cartoony one, the recent one. Though obviously it's a very different character, but I'm getting a similar feel from it. Anyway, that was Mutant Night, and obviously Mutant Night came a long time before Big Hero. But yeah. Oh, yes, deflatable in this case. I was quite good at deflating that character, wasn't I? Okay. I think we've got time for one last game. And I'm not sure what it's going to be. Is it going to be a good one, or is it going to be a bad one? Is it going to be an arcade, or is it going to be a home system? That would be a very bad one. Not done any PCE. No, I'll save Magical Chase for another stream. Okay, let's just go with... Let's go with a game that confuses me just for existing. Now, this version doesn't confuse me as much. This is Mr. Jong, a Kyukyoku game from '83. Now, it's called Mr. Jong. Okay, anyway, it's called Mr. Jong. You push towers around, Pengo style. Yeah, I don't know why you're mentioning Antstream again. I'm not a big fan. You can't own anything on it. Anyway, this game, you push around, and you've got to try and make mahjong hands at the top, as far as I know, which I'm not, you know, I don't really get what you're meant to do, in all honesty. It's sort of Pengo crossed with mahjong crossed with... It's an odd game. I can collect the ones that say one. Anyway, I'm sure if you actually understand mahjong hands, the game has some logic to it, because they're listed at the top. However, the game was also released under other titles, such as Blockbuster, where it's an ECI licensed version of it. Nothing to do with the TV show Blockbuster, but now they're not mahjong hands, but I think you're still meant to be trying to make mahjong hands without knowing the rules of mahjong. Unless I'm completely misunderstanding what this game is about. You see that? Put something up there. I can't push another one in there because I've got to get... Yeah, you've got to get rid of them at the top too. So that's what I wasn't doing before. Now I remember. So yeah, you can get rid of the cards you don't want. So I'm just meant to be... See, I mean, my natural feeling was to try and just put a sequence of numbers at the top. But that's not what you're meant to do, as far as I know. It's one of those games that you don't know what you're meant to do. Maybe the control panel told you exactly what to do. But to me, this is especially because, you know, the original was Mr. Jong, it's based around the mahjong hands, which is not a concept that anybody outside of Japan is playing in arcades is going to really understand. And just retheming the graphics doesn't make it more playable. Also, I keep dying before I even worked out what to do. But it wasn't the only time it was released, because it also got released as... It also got released as a Crazy Block, which is just the same thing as Blockbuster, but with a different title. This game doesn't make sense, at least not to me. I can try and play it like Pengo, but you can't play it like Pengo. As far as I know, I don't think you can just kill everybody. Or at least you can't get the... Maybe you can just kill everybody, but you don't get the bonus points. So can I complete a level by killing everybody? At that point, straight through them. See, I can't seem to kill them that way. I can't push those out of bounds. You see my issue with this game? Yeah, you can't kill them with blocks. You can pick that up and kill them that way. Now what? Do I pick another one up and kill that? But I'm still missing half the idea of the game. Now more of them spawn, so you know that's not how you finish a level. I don't know. Unless the control panel explicitly says how you finish a level in that game and spells out the combinations you need at the top, it's not, to me, a playable game. You know, I don't know what numbers are meant to be put at the top. They don't seem to... It doesn't need to matter what order you put them in. You can't crush the enemies on the level to complete the level. It's... Why did that get localized? I don't know. I always felt that to be a very strange one. And maybe somebody really enjoys it and can explain the game to me and explain why I don't need to know Mahjong hands to play it. But it's one I've looked at a few times and never really figured out without instructions. And when you're dealing with arcade games, they need to be obvious. That's the point. You're going to get people walking up to an arcade in a bar, in an actual arcade, anywhere like that, putting a coin in the game and playing it. They're not going to sit there reading an instruction card. If you're lucky, they'll read on-screen instructions like some of the Neo Geo games have, but most of the time they'll just go, I want to play it. Something like Pac-Man, it's obvious. You eat the dots, you avoid the ghosts. Pengo, you know, there are different ways to play Pengo, but you can just crush all the enemies and finish the level. And it's obvious, and that is not obvious to me. But anyway, I think that is where I will end the stream, however. So, you know, I'm going to say thank you to everybody who has joined in for a chat. And, you know, I've really enjoyed looking at things like the nice game I looked at earlier that was recommended by Mr. Drome here. What was it called again? Metal Storm, that was the one. That was an excellent game. And I've enjoyed discovering a few things on the journey here, like the MSX2 game, Mon Monster, and the SNES one, which I can't remember the name of, Majuu. And yeah, Santeri, thank you for pointing out the whole thing with the Korean game, and the Japanese name of that would have been, as you say, Skyscraper taken in the Japanese context, which was something to think about, because it could be the same idea behind it. And if anybody's watching this on catch up and thinks they can get to the bottom of some of the problems I've talked about, then that'd be good too. I'm going to have to have a word with maybe Cam about that Metal Hawk bug, because I'm sure he'd said the bugs were fixed, and that was clearly a complete mess where I didn't know where the ship was. But yeah, okay, so I will catch you all another time, hopefully. Don't know when I'll be doing the next stream. At the moment I've been sort of doing it every other day, but the routine could change, because there's been times when I've not done anything for a much longer period. It depends if I feel like it, if I feel I've got a good solid list and done a bit of research. I can't research everything. I probably should have done more research on the Mortal Kombat moves before I started the stream, but it happens. You learn from things, don't you? So yeah, thank you all, and good night, and I'll catch you soon.